Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Armstrong back with another episode of Tuesday Tips. To get the commercial out the way, if you are benefiting from the information provided in these videos and in the podcast community, please like, subscribe, and share. This morning, what we're going to talk about in short is perfectionism. Perfectionism. Um, Perfectionism to me is the surefire way to beat oneself up. It's the surefire way to beat yourself up. Just to give you a little history on what perfectionism is, if we look at the definition of perfectionism, it's a broad personality style characterized by a person's concern with striving for flawlessness, perfection, and is accompanied by critical self-evaluations and regards others' evaluations as a major concern of theirs. People with perfectionism personality disorder often drive themselves to attain or achieve unattainable goals, something that they know they're not quite capable of achieving. And it often leads to a adverse or contra reaction such as depression, anxiety, OCD, a myriad of things that a person could go through. And the biggest one is low self-esteem. That would be the largest or the more concerning flaw in this type of personality characteristic or disorder, should we want to call it that. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick look at what the cycle of perfectionism is. The cycle. Because perfectionism does come with a certain repetitive behavior that a person displays. And we look at these, we kind of call it the cycle and the recycle. Okay? So we're looking at the motivation, the kitchen sink, increase in urgency, absolute burnout, anxiety and depression, judgment. Let's break those down. Okay? Let's break those down. Motivation is always the number one driving factor. It's the motivation, the motivation to be perfect, the motivation to achieve perfectionism and to be the absolute best at what one is trying to accomplish. It's a feeling or a re-spark fueled by sometimes shame or the fleeting of self-confidence. So they re-energize themselves to go back and do the same thing over again. Then there's the kitchen sink scenario, throwing all of your energy towards that one certain goal and forgetting about everything else that exists. And it must be done well, and it must be done every time. And if it's not done well, it's not done at all. Okay? Increase in urgency. There's the urgency to make progress, but it's never good enough. Here comes that self-critical evaluation in things. And then you get discouraged by the lack of the progress. Okay? Then there's absolute burnout. You're just completely burnt out at what you're trying to accomplish. The burnout is just that, burnout. You're done. Uh, the loss of self-care. You don't respect your personal boundaries for energy and motivation. You don't respect your personal boundaries for time. Pushing harder and harder, but not feeling good. Oftentimes, people who strive for perfectionism will push themselves to even be sick and still try to push toward a goal of perfectionism. The surefire way of beating yourself up. And then what happens? The anxieties and the depressions begin to set in. You get stuck. Nothing seems to be good enough. Uh, no product feels quality. And then becoming overwhelmed. Overwhelmed. And then the last part is judgment. If progress isn't good enough, I must not be good enough. You begin to judge yourself. Connects the outcome with character development. In other words, saying something is wrong with me, that I can't achieve this goal. And the cycle begins again. You find the motivation to try to do it all over again. We have to come to a realization that there are certain things in life that we have to accept. And if we're not going to accept them, we're going to continue this surefire way of beating ourselves up over and over and over again. All right? And in short, I know this is a short video today. I have to jump on a session at 10 o'clock and make a couple phone calls before then. If we look at it, perfectionism has many faces, okay? Many faces. Many faces. Perfectionism can be a person who can't let something go. Even in an argumentative setting, they can't let something go. And they're determined that their point is going to be right. That's perfectionism. It becomes an adaptive behavior. Okay? Always wanting to be right, having to be right. I must be right. An adaptive behavior. If we look at the three domains, there are self-oriented perfectionism, other-oriented perfectionism, and socially prescribed perfectionism. Self-oriented perfectionism is imposing an irrational desire to be perfect on oneself. You're inflicting this pain on yourself. If we go back to the days of the medieval days, there used to be what they call self-flagellation, because they felt as though in a religious setting they didn't do something right, so they had to suffer for it. Self-flagellation, where they would literally whip themselves till the blood comes out of their body. Okay? Other-orientated perfectionism, placing unrealistic standards of perfection on others, expecting others to be how you want them to be. It doesn't work that way, people. Learn to accept people for who they are. It'll make your life so much easier if you just do it that way. Accept people for who they are. Okay? And then socially prescribed perfectionism, perceiving excessive expectations of perfectionism on others. When you have a certain perception that it should be this way, or it has to be this way, or it's not right in your eyes, but it's okay in others' eyes. A myriad of things. What do you do? How do you overcome this? The simple way to overcome this is to take a step back and reevaluate yourself, because now you're on a thin line between a personality disorder and narcissism. Because if you use this to look at people in a certain way and not looking at yourself, then it turns into fault finding. It turns into, okay, well, they're the one to blame, not me. Don't beat yourself up, people. That's the main thing. Don't beat yourself up. There is a way that you can live in this world without perfectionism. And you know what? The best way to be perfect is to accept that you are imperfect. I hope you have enjoyed this video today. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day. God bless you.